Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really wrestling with something different.
We really are.
We're diving into a single source a listener sent over. It's called The Human Sentence, a metaphysical conundrum.
And it is not your average Sunday morning reading, that's for sure. The text is, it's raw,
Yeah.
very intense. It completely sidesteps the usual search for, gentle spiritual answers.
It really does. It's demanding accountability for just how hard being human can be.
Yeah.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack the central thought experiment in this text. It kicks off with a question we've all had, I think.
Like, definitely.
You know, when life is just relentlessly complicated and you just think, why are we even here? But this author, they don't just leave it at no reason. They take a hard left turn.
A very hard lift. The whole thing is framed as this analysis of suffering, but not as, some random accident. It's framed as something mandated. The author starts with this gut punch of a question. And I'm quoting here, like, why the fuck are we actually here at all? Surely there's a reason.
Wow.
And that need for reason, that's what drives this entire text.
Right, and the reason they land on is incredibly dark, which I think is why it resonated with that feeling of, information overload or a lack of control that you can sometimes get. The core hypothesis isn't that life is meaningless.
No, not at all. It's that it's purposeful, just in the worst possible way.
It refuses to accept randomness.
Completely.
Yeah.
The text proposes this possibility that life, and again I'm quoting, some strange, cruel, and unusual punishment from the universe.
That's just a fundamental paradigm shift, isn't it? We're not debating creation versus evolution anymore. We're asking, what was the crime?
Exactly. Existence goes from being a cosmic gift, or maybe a cosmic mistake, to being an active, deliberate sentence, something you have to serve.
And from a psychological standpoint, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you are just enduring life,
Instead of living it, yeah.
this gives you a reason why. A chilling reason, but a reason. You're enduring it because it's a penalty.
It actually uses your suffering as evidence for its own premise. It's a closed loop.
So how does the author make this cosmic penalty feel, real, tangible?
They create this amazing metaphor. We're calling it the cosmic courtroom.
The cosmic courtroom, I like that.
Yeah, it's this bizarre legal framework that's designed to explain why we're born without our consent and why our bodies inevitably decay. It takes this huge metaphysical problem and turns it into a story we can actually follow.
A story with a judgment.
A judgment and a crime. And this is where the author's imagination just goes completely wild.
Okay, so what's the crime? Who's the culprit?
The text puts forward this incredible backstory. The reason for the whole trial is apparently some sort of serial killer bastard on some long-lost planet.
Wait, what? A serial killer bastard?
Yep, on some long-lost planet.
So it's not our fault?
That's the fascinating part. By making the original culprit somebody else, the author does two things at once. First, it holds on to the idea that this is a punishment, so a crime must have happened.
Okay.
But second, it kind of absolves us of the guilt. We aren't the perpetrator. We're just inheriting the sentence.
But hold on, that doesn't really sound like punishment then, does it? If I'm sentenced for a crime some other guy committed on another planet, that's just injustice. It's not punishment.
I mean, you're right. That's the tension at the heart of it. The judge in this scenario isn't meant to be just or moral.
The judge is just
Powerful.
definitive and powerful. The text isn't looking for a moral justification for our pain. It's looking for a cause, a definitive one. The serial killer just provides the legal excuse for the court to hand down a verdict to a proxy.
To us.
To us.
And the verdict is delivered directly. The author paints this picture where, quote, you get caught, and the judge says. And that just bypasses all philosophy, all religion. It just gives you this cold, hard legal mechanism for why you woke up here. It's the ultimate non-appealable mandate.
Okay, so what is the verdict then? What's the specific sentence?
It's incredibly precise.
The duration, the location, all of it.
All of it. The text says, quote, you have been sentenced to 75 years as a human on the planet Earth. Just like that.
75 years. So it's a defined time limit, basically a standard lifespan, and Earth is the prison.
Earth is the prison, the closed system. And the transition into it is brutal. There's no consent. One moment you're in some pre-life state, and then next thing you remember, you're being born.
That jarring transition, the trauma of birth without any context, that's the start date of the sentence.
Exactly. No orientation meeting, no public defender. Just boom, life begins.
So let's dig into the terms of the sentence itself. What are the mandatory parts of this? this confinement? The author lists them out, right?
Yeah, they're listed very clearly, and they're not treated as, natural biological stages. They're treated like mandatory obligations, required suffering.
Okay, so what's the first one?
The first phase you have to go through is growing up. And in this context, it's not just about getting taller. It implies all the psychological pain of that process.
Like figuring out who you are, dealing with expectations, the vulnerability of being a kid.
All of it. That
Huh.
defines the start of your 75 years. Then the second phase kicks in.
Which is growing old and getting illnesses.
Right, those two are a pair. They represent the body breaking down, the physical decay. Aging and sickness are universal. They're non-negotiable.
So they serve as a constant reminder that the sentence has an end date and that your own body is part of the punishment mechanism.
It is the mechanism of affliction. And then finally, there's the catch-all. The text just lumps everything else into one phrase, basically living all this crazy shit each of us has been subjected to in our own lives.
So that's everything else: grief, money problems, heartbreak, politics, just random bad luck.
It's the arbitrary chaos layered on top of the biological decay. The text is arguing that every single bit of misfortune is just another line item in the mandatory curriculum of your sentence.
It really deepens that feeling of being subjected to life, doesn't it? That you're not an active participant, you're just having things happen to you.
You're a passive recipient. And you can see how this would resonate if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe studying something immense and difficult.
Yeah, it feels like you have to process all this hard stuff just because it's required. This source just takes that feeling and applies it to, well, everything.
Which brings us to the big question, right?
Yeah, right.
Why this legal framework? Why is calling life a sentence so effective for this author?
Right. Most thought experiments use, dreams or computer simulations. Why a courtroom for a metaphysical conundrum?
I think the legal metaphor does something psychologically unique. It imposes a clear artificial intention onto what feels like random chaos.
What do you mean?
Well, if you just say life is random and hard, that doesn't really offer any comfort. But if you say life is hard because a cosmic judge intended for you to suffer for 75 years, you're providing a kind of clarity, a very dark clarity, but still.
So it's not just about giving structure to suffering. It's about giving it a purpose, an intention.
Exactly. The hardship isn't an accident. It's being enforced on purpose. A sentence has a beginning, a middle, and a defined end. There are rules you can't appeal. For anyone feeling lost in a sea of arbitrary information, this source offers this chilling alternative. The universe isn't chaotic at all. It's coldly, perfectly organized around your confinement.
It turns that feeling of alienation into a legally enforced reality. That's heavy.
It is.
But it does provide a kind of depressing rationale for feeling captive to your circumstances. We're just checking off boxes on a syllabus we never signed up for.
And it speaks to that deep fear we have, that while we're out here striving for meaning and control, the fundamental arc of life, birth, growth, sickness, death is completely predetermined, like the terms of a prison sentence.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the central argument is really this powerful transformation of a question.
It is.
It takes the existential question, why are we here? And it twists it into something much more specific.
It becomes, what did we do to deserve this 75-year sentence?
Or who did we know, apparently?
Who do we know, right? With an intense meditation on suffering, it takes aging, illness, all that crazy shit, and it repackages it as deliberate, mandatory parts of your term on Earth.
It really gives a voice to that feeling that life is happening to you.
A very dark, but very compelling voice.
And that leaves us with one final kind of provocative thought for you to take away. If the goal of this cosmic judge, the one who issued this sentence, was just pure, unfiltered suffering.
Right. 75 years of mandatory hardship designed to be a punishment.
What inherent human action, what characteristic could possibly be an act of rebellion against that, an unexpected one?
That's the real conundrum, isn't it? If the entire experience is a prison built to inflict pain, where's the escape hatch? The text confines us to growth and decline, but what happens when someone sentenced to this finds profound, unbidden joy?
Or fierce connection with someone else, or creates something beautiful.
Exactly. What happens when you find genuine meaning within the confines of all that crazy shit? If the prison is built on a foundation of suffering, then isn't the discovery of meaning the ultimate form of psychological escape?
And maybe the one thing the judge never saw coming.
That's the paradox this whole dark thought experiment leaves hanging right over us.